Hey everyone, Chef here. Welcome back to Planet Zoo. We are going to continue working on Empirical Sahara, our arid African desert themed zoo. I've done just a little bit of work in the background, not very much, but there were a couple things that I wanted to touch up after we finished the Scimitar-Horned Oryx exhibit last time. I will walk you through them quick. First of all, I didn't like that this gate was still chain link fence, so I've put in custom detailing on it. Nothing super fancy, it's exactly the same design that we used everywhere else, but that is now at least scenery and not a piece of chain link. I put a little bit of decoration in here along the path. I actually really like this style of stone brick, and I think I might emulate that in a couple other places. Put a couple lights in on this plaza, so we've got a bit more light here. And I also adjusted the sun shade around a little bit that we made last time. Make it a bit taller, a little more imposing. I like that you can kind of see it from above the rocks now. The other thing I'm noticing that I did not do is I wanted to bring these sun shades over. So we're going to go ahead and move one of these over to here. Right about like this. Good. And then another one right here. Just for that little extra bit of decor. And then I also figured out what I want to do to the front of the building to break up the geometry of it a little bit. These are just 1x1 mud squares, colored a little lighter than the underlying plaster. But I think they give the wall a bit of dimension, and they make this building more interesting to look at from a distance. There's stuff going on it now, and it doesn't just look totally flat. So, very happy with that overall. We have our fennec foxes sitting in quarantine right now, waiting to get moved into our last habitat for the arid desert section of the zoo. But today we're going to be working on camels. It is finally time to overhaul this exhibit and get the front of the zoo looking completely polished. And then if we have any leftover money, we got to stick concessions in the back of the zoo here today. So we are going to start off by getting rid of this whole section of front fencing. And we're going to use a similar style here. But for this habitat in particular, I don't think we're going to do exactly the same thing. The Dromedary Camel, as far as range goes, is pretty widespread. They're all through the desert, but they're also up into Arabia, they're down into Horn of Africa, they're into, like, Iran, Iraq, Pakistan, all over there. So, I think as we move into this section of the zoo, this is going to be our Horn of Africa, and the dromedaries are going to be a nice natural lead-in into some of those exhibits. So you'll go through, like, the penguins here, because I think penguins in front of a food court is always kind of fun. Out here, you'll be into Horn of Africa. Up here, we'll be into Sahel. And then we might need to put the Namib Desert section, like, over here around this corner. Not entirely sure where we're going to fit it. I guess we could also put it, like, up on this highland if we wanted to play around with terrain geometry, but we haven't really left ourselves a good path to do that right now. So, we'll see. That's not a problem for us to solve now. The point is that the camel exhibit is going to be where we start to break some things up and we do some things that are a little different. So start me with a 2-meter column. Sink it almost completely into the ground. Let's turn this down just a little bit. It is way too big. We'll excavate it down to about there. And then we'll flatten. And this is actually going to come around like here. Camels, I think, take a pretty significant amount of space. So it'll be nice to reclaim a bunch of area here along that path. as we start to destroy the navigable space that they have access to here. So that's going to be their ditch. Don't need that anymore. Go ahead and start smoothing this out, maybe pushing it back a little bit. We want a nice... For this one, I think, because I don't want this one to be as craggy as the Scimitar-Horned Oryx turned out. This one I want to have more of like a sand dune kind of feel to it. We want this slope to be much more gradual. Also, because if I can get the camels close enough to the fence, we might see some camels spitting on people, and that's also very fun. So just smooth out along here. Nothing super fancy. And then from here, we're going to grab a section of our ruined fort wall. And I'm going to grab a few pieces of it because I'm going to reuse this in a couple places. Like that'll probably do. And then we'll slide this over here. We'll start putting it along this side of the path as well. Spin you around a bit. This join doesn't need to be great, because we can just move a pillar over there. And that'll be fine. Just make sure we actually close this off. Okay. And then we'll grab another section. And we'll bring that over as well. And the point is that this whole section looks a little broken, looks a little roughed up. Don't need things to line up exactly here, don't need things to exactly follow the path. We just need it to be a point of a little bit of visual interest for guests. And now we can start selecting like this, but not that, and not that, and not that. Maybe just like this. Are you part of the group? You are part of the group, that's fine. Gotcha. Alright, then all of this. You're not going to let me do that, are you? We're going to have to select all of this manually. This is why you should probably separate groups out before you just start putting them down willy-nilly. I'll just keep it all the same group. We'll just drag a few more pieces of fence over. Grab some of you, duplicate. Pull you up to... Let's put you here, and then we'll make you a new group. Then at least we've got one section of this fence that we can pull around if we need to. So split this from your group. I don't think you grabbed that brick, did you? Yeah, you didn't. Alright. Split that from group as well. Now did you get everything? Yeah. So leave that fence there. That's a section that you can work with. Grab this section. Duplicate that over here. Split this from its group. And then you can slide this thing around. And we'll see if you can make do with that. It's just the 2 pieces that you have access to. You should be good. And then we'll put you in. Get one of you in. And then once you get to about here, we'll do one more. Once you get to about here, we'll think about diversifying the terrain up a little bit. It's going to be a really unpleasant joint to make. Go like that. And then grab just this thing. Probably the laziest way to select a single breeze block base trim square. But it works. From there, I think I want to use a different kind of wall. Probably something that's like a little more constructed. Don't immediately know what it is right now, but we can figure that out. This fence, I do kind of like, and I do think it would be interesting to make that whole area coherent, so I may save this and continue using this for one more section. But when we get back to where the sandcat is, and when we get back to where the fennec fox is, I think we probably will make a new fence segment. Because we don't want it to look the same absolutely everywhere. And then let's just make sure we join these up all nice. So you would go. You would come over here. Yeah, that joins the rope fine. You would come with. Yeah, I'll do it one by one then. And then you would come with. So that would be your join. I really don't want camels getting through this section. So we're going to put a couple rocks there. I'd like to keep them separated out a bit. I don't mind if they're walking around back here. We're going to push that fence all the way back, and I don't think they can climb over that. But I don't want them getting close to where guests are walking around. We'll just take a couple of these big desert rocks. Sink them a pretty decent way into the ground. And then we'll take the slightly smaller one that has a better height profile. And we'll pile those up here. And then can I just get a few in, like right here, to fill that gap in. And then maybe one over here as well. And that should hopefully be enough to keep any curious camels from trying to wander around. I don't think that they can climb very well, but we'll check traversability after we're done with this. back here, you're going to have to start thinking about what you want this staff area to look like. Because whatever wall you use here is what you're going to want to use for staff area as well. In order to get it to be fairly cohesive. And maybe you do just continue this fence a little bit further. Make a third piece. Move. Come with me, please. Thank you. Plug it in right about here. Plug this in over here. So that's roughly where that's going to stop. Yeah, fine so far. It is actually, I guess, kind of neat from a visitor perspective that you to have a really clear sight line through here, but I do want to build some kind of structure here that blocks sight into the staff area. We'll have to figure out exactly what that takes. That may actually, well, let's put an initial foundation for that down right now. What grid pieces do I have that aren't breeze block? We're definitely not going to use metal plank. You may end up doing plaster here just to mark it out. So from here, you're not really going to have sight lines. From here, you're going to have a pretty clear sight line into those buildings. So you would want the structure to go about here. And again, don't really know what this structure is going to be yet. But if you have some kind of building there, then it's going to block visibility. And then you'll want a second building that sits about here. And then the only place you'd kind of be able to see buildings in the back is from here, but it would just be like the suggestion of a building. We'll be blocking out most of it, and by the time you get to over here, we can probably start thinking about a rock wall. So from about here onwards is what's going to look like the end of the habitat from a guest perspective. It's going to go on a bit further behind this. And that's going to give a nice illusion to people who are looking at it from the front. It's going to look bigger from those angles than it actually is. Or I guess it's going to look smaller from this angle than it actually is. But this will be how we block that sightline. So there you're going to have a little hint that there's buildings in the back. Actually, what if you... Where's my plaster? What if you put a third building here? So what are these buildings going to look like? I don't immediately know. However, I think it'll be kind of neat. Also, we can get rid of this. Get rid of this. And then terrain. We're going for like a sand dunes vibe in here. So I want to raise up the terrain a little bit in some places, and then I want to take a smoother with this whole thing. So I don't really have a plan. I'll give it to you up front. No plan for what these buildings are going to be. I think it would be kind of cool to continue the runes motif, but I don't have a set plan for what a ruined building is going to look like. We'll see what comes out of it. The one thing that is useful is that I don't believe... Yeah, camels do not have a hard shelter requirement, so we don't have to put in hard shelter for them. And that's great news. So, let's undertake all of the expensive parts of this project first. A 2x2 concrete wall panel is only $20. This is twice as expensive. And I guess it's maybe sufficient height. I do need to be mindful of saving a bit of money here. So let's use the 2-meter one, and we'll sink it just a tiny bit. Please do not rotate. Thank you. So you've seen this process before. We're going to add a couple wiggles, add a couple curves. Make it go a little all over the place. The end result is going to be that hopefully it's interesting to look at. Or at least that it does not distract too badly for guests. Should be a straight shot for a while. Have it come out a little bit. And then straighten. We could put like a little planter box or some other kind of diorama there. Because we'll have a bunch of space up next to the path to play with. Swing back out here. And then cut back to following the path. Ooh, those are sloppy joins. Hold on. Hold on. Can't have that. That's also a sloppy join. That's better. It's not perfect, but it's better. We have to be a little careful here with money, but we haven't actually let the simulation run at all yet this entire year. So our budget is actually going to be anywhere from 10 to 15,000 higher than it currently shows, depending on how well the fennec foxes do. So as soon as we get the habitat boundary line established, we'll probably unpause for a bit just so the zoo can make a little bit of money. While we start to prototype out what exactly these ruined buildings in the camel section are going to look like. Whatever they are, I want to keep them really simple. Like they're probably going to be primarily grid pieces. And I don't think we're going to do anything super elaborate with them. Here we're getting quite close to the path, so we can pull this out a little bit. We'll have one straight section. And then we'll start moving back out a bit. Because out here is going to be a bit more open-ended anyway. Let the path widen out a bit, get people into the food court. It's probably going to be higher traffic down here because it's a confluence of a couple sections of the zoo all coming together. So we'll leave ourselves a little extra room. Alright, so that's perimeter well done. Let's go ahead and make this into a group. And then we can paint it. Merge into group, color editor. It's not that one. What color is the retaining wall? (9F835C). That one. All right. This is Dromedary Camel retaining wall. 4 now, just temporarily. We'll go ahead and close the exhibit off. So that I can take a look at traversability. So we can run down to here, hop in here. Okay. And then how are you looking for traversability, my friend? You can climb that rock. How about that? You can also climb that rock. Huh. Okay. Well, this should be easy enough to fix. Let's grab one of these big lads. Drop it down to about here. Pile a second one here. Pile another one here specifically to cut that portion off, because that's the part you want to try and jump across. Now how you looking? Yeah, not so slick now. Alright. Cool. Let's get your enrichment back in here so that nobody gets mad. Here's a water pipe for you and a medium feeder. And we're going to let things run a bit because we need to build money back up. And while that happens, we'll go ahead and start putting in our cladding for the front of this habitat. Drop it down to below, just barely, the concrete. Take it right off the rock closer to the wall, and then we'll have mulch that comes out further. So copy this thing around. You're going to want to use this in a few places. God, you really made the ball very far from the exhibit in this area for some reason. Something like that. I actually like that a lot. I think that looks great. I don't exactly know why, or what I did to make it do that, but it looks really good. I like how it's kind of creeping up onto the path, but there's also a bit of dirt sticking out of it. I guess I just got the height exactly right. And then I'll have like 2 more of you. I'll have 1 of you here. And then we'll have 1 of you down here next to this rock outcrop. Let's do a little bit of adjustment on these. To get them to exactly cover things up. Somebody got stuck on terrain apparently and had to get redistributed. He sounds very mad too. Okay. Good. 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 And almost good. We can now start putting our mulch in. Give me a 2x2 will probably be good enough. And then just start painting. These, I think it's going to be difficult to copy and paste. Because I need them all to be really flush with the wall. Whereas with the rocks, you only need them to be kind of flush. Oh, I hear them spitting. Good. I love that they're close enough to spit. That's great news. Not really for guests, but for me. Fennec foxes are also probably ready to go in around this point. We should go do that sooner rather than later, otherwise protesters are going to get mad. But I think we have time to finish this out. Well, they're all going to be. How exciting for you. That's the last one. Let's get this fennec fox taken care of. You guys head over to here. That also means you're going to have to put that habitat into Arid Sahara Animal Care. Oh, it is already. Alright, you're set, actually. This is set. You can finish your fence now. You can also get rid of these. And these. By the time we unpause, we'll be putting those back in. There we go. Right, time to fence in. It does feel like this habitat is further away from the path than a lot of other habitats. It definitely is. But maybe that's okay. Maybe that's just one of those things where it's like, this is leading into a different part of the zoo. It's going to be a little thematically different. It's our way of telling you that it's not the same place that you're in anymore. Camels draw good crowds. Lots of people here to watch them. I can get you a little closer. There we go. Actually, I want to pull you back. You're a little more on the path than I would like here. There we go. And then at this point, we can really pull it in. And we can get ready to just shove it into the rock. This is the natural endpoint for that barrier. I'll copy these over. And your plan for these is to go light, gap, board, gap. So light, gap, board, gap, light. Gap, board, gap, light. Gap board, gap light. Gap board, gap light. Gap board, gap light. And then you're not going to have another light. Grab boards now. First one's going to go here. You are not going to be Addax. You are going to be wide dromedary. And then this board is going to be Dromedary Camel. And you sit right about there. Next one goes here. Next one goes here. Next one goes here. And then there should be two more after this. One goes here. And one goes here. Very informative. Carry the donation bins across, and then we should be ready to unpause again. Start collecting a bit more money. Which, speaking of, are you collecting money for fennec foxes right now? No. Now you are. And not a moment too soon, given that we're down to 5,500 already. And we can't really take a loan out. Like, we could take a loan out if we really needed to. We have the mega loan available still, the $20,000 one. But I would really... Oh, we could take the 5,000 out again. I didn't realize we'd actually paid it off. Okay, so we can get a little bit. So checking our fennec foxes. They can't escape. Good. You can have a water and a food and a burrow. And I'll see you in a year or two. Let's get foliage in. Give me a Sudanese frankincense. Right next to that light like that. That'll do. Kind of away from the light in that spot. Give me another one over here. Maybe at the edge of the rock. And then show me Africa plants in a desert. Desert, Africa. What do we want to line this section with? Sort me by ascending. Give me a couple bushes out here at the edge. There we go. And then maybe give me a large dry grass. In particular, to cover up this little boundary. This should be outside of the camel's habitat, so it shouldn't really bother them too much that we're putting so many plants in. I have arrived at my own zoo. Oh, vet research is done. Sure. Halfway through Scimitar-Horned Oryx. If I sink a salt cedar into the ground, how bad does it look? Not horrible. They are really big, though. And I think I could get away with one here. Maybe here as well. Also, why do these lights not turn on? Hold on. You know what? I want these lights to turn. I want these lights to be on all the time. Is it a waste during the daytime? Yeah. However, since we're playing on a height map, a sculpted map, when it hits like 3 p.m. and the sun dips below that mountain, it gets pitch dark in here. So put all these into a group. This is going to be arid Sahara lighting. Light always on. For all of them. I don't think I can do it for all of them, apparently. Which is kind of the whole reason I put them into a group. Oh, you don't have power out here. How do you have power then? Oh, it's just in like the world's tiniest gap. Okay. Well, I guess I'll just get rid of you then. And then what was this about? Tickets are underpriced? I would love to bump those up. Take me to like 10 and 5. Scimitar-Horned Oryx is about to have offspring. That's great. But for now, let's just finish planting this up. Give you a couple century plants. And then along this top row, we can do a little bit of Nitraria here and there. With some dry scattered in. And then we'll look to do something similar over here. That's too big. There's just not a lot of desert plants, which, you know, I guess makes sense. A little bit of grasses in here. No, that's too tropical. A date palm would probably do, though. Couple over here. And then there's just one more section of mulch to cover up. Give me... yeah, I'll just keep going with Nitraria. Sink it well down. Alright, so that's Dromedary Camels planted for. How much of that encroached into your habitat? Just the date. Cool. Hey, you have a pretty good tolerance for plants anyway. But now that your wall is done, all of your terrain is good too. Okay. I would prefer it personally, though, if you had a bit more sand in here. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a bit more sand in here. In particular, along the boundary zone. And then we'll also put a little bit of dirt in on that as well. And then up higher up, we'll do coarse. Alright. Looking good so far. You have a couple challenges. Release any habitat species to the wild. Have you, did you give birth over here yet or not yet? If I could just find one habitat species to release. How are the Addax doing? I don't have a male Addax. Oh, we gotta fix that. We could be having a breeding program right now. For 150? I'll pay for 150. Fertility 0. Nature will find a way. Alright, you come hang out in quarantine. Dromedary Camel. I could get rid of like one of them. Get rid of the oldest one. I can't release them to the wild because they are domesticated? I think because they're domesticated. Yeah, nobody gives a shit about camels. How about our Scimitar-Horned Oryx? We have a child Scimitar-Horned Oryx. I need more female Scimitar-Horned Oryxes too, though. We only have 2 of them. I think we need like 4. Take one of those. Take one of these. Move them to quarantine as well. And now you're going to have to figure out your routes. Let me see if I can wait until morning to do the routes. Hold on, why is there litter here? Oh, because that bin got knocked over. Can you replace all this? God, look at all this stuff that got vandalized. What the heck? Alright, fix all that up. There we go. And then eventually a caretaker will come by to handle that. Probably. Nine months of litter? Yeah, I just noticed. We'll take care of it. Don't worry. Yeah, we'll just rebuild a bit of money while it's nighttime. And then we'll jump into it again. This looks really neat at night. Like, I know night is not the greatest time to record because it's difficult to tell what's going on, but there is something about the way that a zoo looks at night, where everything is lit up, that is cool from my perspective. So hopefully it's cool from your perspective as well. Inspectors arrived. Sure. Litter. Doesn't matter. I like how this is coming along. I think it's starting to look complete, which is good. Sandcat's mating. How's quarantine looking? Our Addax is ready. You can come live in here. And then we'll get our Scimitar-Horned Oryxes ready as well. As soon as Mashika is ready here. In your own time, Mashika. There we go. We should have plenty of room for this, because we overbuilt all of these habitats. Shouldn't really have to worry about space at all. And zoo income is climbing. How much have we made this year? 8,500. Good. We still have a bit of time for our income to be even higher than it was last year. We increased ticket prices this year. They're already higher. Donations are just lagging behind a bit. Probably because we were rebuilding the camel habitat. But the fennec foxes are very popular, so that should do a bit of extra work for us. Oryx up to 4, and then this will be Africa up to 3. We can figure out what theme we want to work on next after this. I think I would really like to grab North Africa, but we'll see. We will see. We're still yelling up the storm over there. But morning soon, and then we can build our ruins. And then that'll be year 4 taken care of. Our guest vitals looking hunger and thirst still pretty bad, but I bet that is because we don't have anywhere to eat back here. So I think it's something that we can fix. Having a little rest stop here, here, and possibly also just earmarking this for myself here. Will probably help quite a bit with taking care of guest needs. I don't want them to go more than 2 exhibits without having the opportunity to buy a food or a drink. And yeah, the lines over here would also suggest that we just don't have enough right now. Well, you know what? Maybe this is the point where we plug in an extra chief beef. And we plug in an extra gulpy soda. And then we take those 2 new employees. I think we can afford it. No, you work for Entrance Guest Plaza. You work for Entrance Guest Plaza. So you now have 6 vendors for 4 stalls. That should be good enough. You guys are a little angry. Your welfare is great. But it's mostly just an enrichment issue. And we're not ready to put your enrichment in yet. Alright. December 1, let's get to work on these rooms. The biggest thing that we need is blocking sight lines at the back. I could just make them out of mud. I might just make them out of mud. I think mud has a more interesting texture to it than plaster. So we'll get the one that has a little bit of design at the back. For some of them. And then I also want these heights to be really irregular. So we're going to do you. Actually, you don't even need to do that. Undo, undo, undo. Mud wall here. You can do something like this. And then around the side, we can go to 2, 1, and 2. Around the front, they don't need hard shelter, but we could give hard shelter to them anyway. Have a door. And then around the side here we do 2, we do 3, but we sink it. And then we do 3, but we don't have any paint on it. No, you do 4, but you don't have any paint on it. I would say that looks... Like, not only does that look sufficiently ruined, but it also does a pretty good job at blocking sightlines. I also want it to look like at one point it was 2-story. So can I get flat roofs and floors, log wall floor? Give me something like that, and then give me a column. It's a little too detailed than what I want. Can I instead get... Yeah, mud column's gonna work great there. Like this. Ah, you can just use the 4-meter one. And then could I even get what would look like broken stairs leading up to this? If we go like this. Don't random rotate me. Like something like this would work pretty well. We do that, and then there's like a gap in them. And then there's another gap in them. Something like that. This doesn't need to be exquisitely detailed because guests aren't really going to be able to see it that well. Oh, I like that though. I like what's going on here. I think this is good. Maybe. Give me cladding around the base of this. It's just going to make the bottom look a little more roughed up. I don't really need them to connect exactly. Just need to scatter them around here and there. This part's kind of retreating into the sand. That's cool. I feel like I end up saying dimension every episode, but it adds dimension. We're making it look like something that actually has volume. It isn't just a static piece of like flat scenery. And then along here as well. I think we can put a little of it in and have it look like trim. In fact, I might want to do the same thing here. Yeah, it just looks it makes it look a little roughed up. A little weathered. Like it's a building that's just been sitting out in the sun for a really long time. Okay. And then inside here, first of all, coarse sand. And then fine sand at like 30. And then maybe a very small patch of dirt. Like in front of the house. And then around that pillar. But then I want this to look a little overgrown. So give me the largest Natraria bush you have. Give me a dead one as well. In here, you've got a bit of shade. This has the opportunity to become not necessarily verdant, but I imagine this would be a haven for some foliage to grow in. Oh, I'm liking this. I'm liking this a lot, man. I'm liking this a lot. I'm having a good time playing a video game. And it blocks sightlines, which is what we wanted. Now, I'd also like this to be a spot that the camels can rest in. So to do that, I want to grab the sunshade. And I'm going to keep it really simple with just beams. No random rotation. Oh, that's really just the way you want to orient. All right, how about you align to surface then? That's what I was looking for. So we're going to have one of these that sticks off the side like this. And then it's a little tilted. And we'll have one here. And we'll have one here that's a little higher up. And then those are going to be held in place by sunshade beams. As they are in the other spot. And because one beam is not going to be high enough to reach all the way to the top, we're going to go ahead and there you go. And then copy over here. And then also copy over here. Like that. Yeah, pretty much like that. So because this isn't tall enough, rotate it 180 degrees. Slide the base over because it doesn't exactly line up. And then just move this up a bit so that you give it the appearance of being a little thicker at the bottom. Same thing with these. Spin them 180. Slide them up a bit so that they look thicker. Spin it. Slide it up so it looks a little thicker. And then to get this position just right, let's go ahead and put it into a group. Merge into group. This is Dromedary Camel sunshades. I actually think that's a little high the way it is now, so we'll drag it down one. And then we can get rid of you. And we can just duplicate this one. And we can put it anywhere else we want. Then if we go into habitat, we'll give them... I actually don't know if they'll use this bedding. But we'll give them a little bit of bedding here to encourage them to maybe go lay under the sunshades. I think that would look fun. I really like how that building turned out. I think I am happier with this than anything else that I have built so far in this zoo. Which, considering I didn't really have a plan for how I was going to make a building look abandoned at the start of this, I think is kind of a blessing. How are you doing on plants in your exhibit? 2%. Love that for you. Alright, let's make 2 more then, shall we? I think we've got a good template down. Delete these 2. Mud. Mud wall 1 meter, mud wall 2 meters. Mud wall 3 meters, kind of. And then we'll say this is also 3. It's enough to block the sightline. Actually, you can have an arch. That's fun. And if I put it... Oh, then it looks like a window. Hold on, I have to do this right now before I forget. Beam round painted thin 2 meters. Yes. Yes. No. No, but maybe. Maybe you could be coerced. Probably good enough. Good enough. So, why? I don't know. Just think maybe it kind of looks like a prison window or something, and that's neat. Maybe, maybe not. Who's to say? And then over here on this side, mud. 4-meter door base has this chunky base to it that I like, so we're going to do that. And then I guess I will make you a little taller. And then over here it'll get short on this side. And that one I might just leave with a false back. Like if I put a wall in here. And then here. And then here. Camels can still get into this thing, and they can wander around in there. Which I like. I may put a sunshade inside there too. Let's see if I like that. Do I like the way that this looks? I mean, you can't really tell from the outside. No, I do like how that looks. Just kidding. I think that's sick. And then give me one false floor. Wait, there's a mud floor? How do you look? Not as good. No, actually, for this particular spot, I think you look better. And then I also need to worry about how you're going to be held up. That's just going to be a very small mud column. And you'll almost never see that from the outside. I just want to check one more thing. Part of me is wondering, what if what we did in the window wasn't actually like it was a prison? What if we made it look like it was part of the construction? Like this. And here, I actually want them to look a little like bleached white. These, maybe I can make a little darker. Maybe I can give them like this sand brown or this cream that we've been using, but these, like, they've been getting blasted by the sun forever, and I want them to look that way. And then the last one, well, I should put a couple plants in here too. In particular around these corners, because these are the parts that guests can see. You can have a very small Sudanese frankincense tree. Where's frankincense 01? There it is. Yeah, you can have this little guy. He can be yours. Should also probably think about the sightline from over here. This side of the building looks really bland. So I think I want to copy these over. And have them be here as well. So that if you're looking at it from the other side, you can see them. And then I'll also put them here. No, that's too much. Also, I don't like that the mud wall pokes out. Let me split this from the group and then ever so slightly shift it so that it's not on the grid and is not poking out. And then also, can I just hide it like that? Alright, so that's a good building. And then last one is this one. I don't think it needs to come out that far. And this one I may just leave open. Delete this. Mud wall 1. Mud wall 3. Mud wall 4. Mud wall 3. And then mud wall 1. Mud wall 1. I want this one to just invite you to look into it. Arch half? That's way too big. Circular base, way too big. Oh. You, on the other hand, though. I could make you work. So you're gonna have a little bit of a sightline there. Although I bet I could cover that up with, like, some rocks. In fact, I'm pretty sure that I could. I'll just go do it now. And back here, again, because we want it to feel a little different than the other two exhibits that we've done so far. It's leading into a separate section of the zoo eventually. We're going to use the red desert rocks primarily, whereas previously we've been using the gray desert rocks. And my hope is that that will lend itself to a little bit of like a different feel. Will it actually? Who knows? And then we'll use the same trick that we've used previously on some of these rocks. Add a little extra color to them. Make them look like a conglomeration of a couple different kinds of stone coming together. And now when you look through this gap, oh, it's just rock. There's just rock back there. There's nothing else interesting. You maybe see a roof poking out over the top, but that's about it. This wall needs help. In fact, I think it needs trim. Red desert rock cladding pillar. Nope, that's a little big. This is also maybe too big, but we'll find out. I think it is too big. I'll go back to using thin cladding and we'll stop random rotating. duplicate, nature, then. Add a little bit of dimension to the corners. Do the same thing here. And do the same thing here. And it just adds a little bit of something extra. Although I wonder if I can lighten this wall up a bit. Because the other thing I can do here to make this area feel a little special is have each of these ruins buildings be a slightly lighter color. So we'll just slide you over to like here. I want to preserve the reddness, I just want it to be lighter. I don't think that did anything. We should put this into a group. I would like to, oh, you are. Color vinegar. Blood wall paint. That's a bit lighter. Ah, you missed this one. You split from group. Colors. Pink. Good. And then this one you'll also want to lighten up. While splitting this out of the group. That is a little too vibrant red for my taste. Yeah, you could have it be like a sandier color like that. Add a little bit of trim to you. I don't think you need a ton. And then can I get one big tree growing inside of you? Is this the spot for one of our doom palms? I don't think so. They're just a little too big. Sudanese frankincense tree looks good, but we already have one. Date palm is just too tropical. Where's Quiver Tree 03? I guess 01 is the biggest one. Fine. You win. Planting inside here. Maybe get like a little salt cedar poking out the back of it. And then fill the rest out with Natraria bushes. I want a big one to be like overtaking this doorway. So that's the ruins. Camel ruins. Actually, I want one more sunshade. It's gonna go here. Give them a place to lay that's like right in front of guests, and then guests can be like, whoa. A domesticated animal that's native to the region of the zoo that we're visiting. I've never seen one of those before. Well, I guess that's not fair. Like, if you go to a, you know, like a farm, and you see cows, you're like, whoa, cows. Yes, I'm really happy with that. I think that came out super well. I was saving some space here in the middle for rock work, and I might still put that in. Don't align to surface. I want to see if I can do something similar to what we did for the Scimitar-Horned Oryxes, but have it be something that the camels can actually traverse. So this isn't going to be a tall rock feature. It's going to be relatively subdued. Now, obviously, it's going to gain a little height as it goes to the back, but not so much that you can't see all of the lovely ruined buildings that we've made. So just a little something like this. And then maybe right here specifically, we do a jumble of rocks that are a little taller. Yeah, just adds a little bit of visual interest to the area. Let's smooth out some of these patches. And I think that's our camels pretty much good to go. The last thing they're going to need is enrichment items. So we can destroy you for the last time. We can destroy you for the last time. You can have a hanging grazer feeder. It goes without saying that we want them to use these in and around the buildings that we've made. So path. You go here. It's a little far away from the prying eyes of guests back here. But what can you do? Guests don't get to see everything. Have a little bit of Natraria scattered around that path. What else you got for enrichment? A rubbing pillar. You can come up onto the rock to do that. Okay. A grab ball toy. I have a grab ball toy over here. Water pipe, obviously, you need. I kind of want to nestle that into this rock crag. Pull it down a little bit. Maybe deform the terrain out from under that just a little bit. If we make it that low and then we put a path on top of it, and then we put a water pipe on top of it, we can control the height of the water pipe with a lot more precision. And we can just put a rock underneath it to hide the fact that it's floating later, like this. Give me small bushes here now. Small, tasteful amounts of grass. One Netraria. So they've got a little watering hole. I have a melon feeder. We'll put some of the feeders inside the houses. We don't really need to decorate there, but it will be an incentive for the animals to go and explore in there sometimes. I think will just lead to, like, interesting screenshots for me to take for a thumbnail or something. Let's do a little bit of dressing up in there, so it hints that there's just barely something going on. And then you would also like a scent marker. That's a great way to attract them to come into buildings. And I have one here, one over here, one over here. I guess technically you might be able to see this section from the Addaxes if you're looking carefully. So we'll dress it up just a bit. And then that is basically all the enrichment we have for them right now. I could also give them like a jelly cake, but there's already a lot of food in this habitat, and I don't really think they'd be able to eat it all. So I'm just going to say that's good, and I'm going to send it. Enrichment at 87. Food enrichment isn't high enough. Dang. Alright, fair enough. We'll wait for that to research. I don't think that's super vital. So yeah, there we go. That is Camel Ruins, we'll say. They've got a bunch of places to jump. Very nice. Getting donations. Very nice. This sightline is a little annoying. We can fix it later. We will also need to clean this up. This gate also needs to move. Let's pull that over to like here. And then I love that because that means that the zookeeper entrance is almost completely hidden from guests. We need to clear this fence up a little bit. You can do that now. You have time to do that now. You're actually making really good time on this episode in general. Take me to barriers. Turn all of these into nulls. This, I think, should probably be a more formal fence. Like, this is a little decorated. It's a little visitor-facing. It's a little bit theming. But the fence back here, I think, should be like 100% utilitarian. So, I want... What do I want? How about post? How about painted? I want the chunky one. Yeah, I think I want the square chunky one. So we'll have one go here. How are you? Oh, because you had random rotation. Obviously. I need to get you turned just a little bit. So that you join in with the hinge on the door. And then there as well. You should not be a part of that group. We need to pick a color for you. This is actually a fun opportunity to use, like, oh, go away green does not work at all. I guess go away green probably doesn't really work when you're in, like, a desert. It's, you know, it's not horrible. So slide you to here, and to here, and to here, and then to here, and to here, and to here. And then to here, and to here. And instead of doing mesh for those, we are going to do thin beam. But these I want to look like they're metal. And we're going to do sets of 4. Sets of 3. So get a nice gray for these. Yeah. Pull it over to here. Give it a tiny little rotation. Give it a little slide. Duplicate the last one. And then just paste this everywhere you need it to go. So this is like purely backstage fencing. There is absolutely no consideration given at all about how it's going to look to guests, because guests aren't going to see it. In most cases. And even if they do, they'll be like, ah, big deal. Move you over a little bit. We want it to actually look like you're joining into these things. Move the beams so that they're actually centered on what we're calling our metal fencing, even though it's just a painted wooden dowel. That's one section of null barrier done. Let's make sure that they can't actually climb over that. Show me the baby. Because the baby is going to have the greatest ability to climb. Yeah, they can jump right over that, actually. Alrighty then. Good thing we made this thing a group, because it all needs to move up. And then duplicate it. And slide it down. Oh, and then what are you going to do with that? Clever guy. I'm just going to keep it moving over. Except it no longer wants to line up with anything. So you're going to have to do these individually. The game is trying to average the position of all of these individual pieces, and it's doing a relatively poor job of it. And then you're left with something like that. Can a baby camel get over that? Still a yes. Oh, you know what the problem is? This null barrier isn't actually hugging the fence. You're really gonna fight me on this one, huh? Yeah, you really are. There we go. Maybe also check that the adults can't get out. Yeah, adults can't even get out of that rock right there. And then I think I like that fence so much, I'm just going to copy it through this section. So give me just one piece of it. Like just this piece, maybe. Duplicate that. Move it out of the way. Select it all again. Split it from its group. And now you can move it anywhere you need to. Which is going to be here. You don't need that piece at the end. You should really just be using the 4-meter dowel piece here. You're spending money that you don't have to. But too late now. And then we'll put a little bit of angle on it. Just so that we don't have a perfectly square habitat. You and you and you and probably you. We'll need to send you down a little further. And also probably you. We don't want camels trying to sneak out underneath that thing. That's not a bad little custom fence, you know? You can just barely see some hints of it from here, and I think I'm totally okay with that. Where did all my visitors go? Did they, oh, they saw a camel escape, didn't they? Yep. They're like, oh shit, Dromedary Camel got out. Time to run. Well, that's gonna tank our income for a little bit. Oh, it's because this habitat got renamed. This is Dromedary Camels. Dromedary Camel. We don't pluralize them. And then get it back in the work zone. Alright, so everybody has run out of the park again. Becoming a common theme. But that's probably going to do it for year 4 of Arid Sahara. We still have $4,300 in the bank. The game still thinks we're low on cash, but I actually think that our financial situation is relatively sound. And I'm really happy with how this habitat turned out. I think we've got like some neat empty area in the front, so it kind of looks deserty. Because, you know, fundamentally, a dromedary camel is a desert animal. But at the same time, we've got some interesting scenery in the background, and I think it came together really well. As far as your wanderable area is concerned, we're at 1,800 over 1,000, so there's plenty of room to expand if we decide to. And everything just seems to be going very, very well. We do have a little bit of hunger and thirst issues to deal with, but these lines are starting to get under control. And maybe what we do with the last little bit of money that we have is we put in a second one of them back here. So I'm going to copy this completely, which I think should cost around $4,000. Wrong. More expensive than 4,000. All right, guess what? We're taking a loan out. We're taking out the 5K loan again. We're going to duplicate this over here. This is going to be the eatery section. Slide you around until we've got you in a place that looks good. Where all the paths connect. It's 8,000. That's fine. It's worth it. Shops make money. And then you're going to need to hire probably 5 vendors to take care of that. 1, 2, 3, 5. This is going to be a new work zone. It's going to be these 4. It's going to be this staff room and this staff room. This is going to be Arid Sahara food question mark, because I forgot my naming convention for these. This is Arid Sahara guest services. And then does that look like the front guest services one? Oh, no, it doesn't. You need to get those in the workroom. But other than that, yes, it does. All right, so we have guest services in front for entrance plaza. We have Arid Sahara guest services, which is going to be this little pavilion in the back. Let's make sure that they have somewhere to eat. Give them a few tables. I could do African picnic benches back here. And then give them some canopies. I'm surprised that you don't want to snap to these tables. And also, I don't really like the way those canopies look. Can I just get a normal umbrella? Does such a thing exist? No. Alright, well, we'll wait then. So they're going to be battered by the sun here unless I decide to build them like a little bit of shade or something like that. They are going to need bins to throw things out. I think we are at the point in our lives where we can afford to start some recycling initiatives. So we will do that. This one can just move over here. And then we're also going to want bins along the normal path. We're going to want some benches along the normal path. We can do a little bit of theming down here with benches. I don't know why you would want guests to sit there and look directly into staff facilities. We'll shift those around a little bit. Something like that. And then in the back here, we're going to have restrooms. I just can't afford them yet. So guests are going to have to wait. We'll put a little bit of custom fencing in here, a little bit of custom fencing around here. We'll put some plants in here. I'm probably also going to need a caretaker to work back here. Caretakers are the ones that clean, right? That is the one that I need specifically. Yes. All right, so I need one more caretaker to live over here. There you go. And now I should be able to assign all of you to work zones. You are Arid Sahara guest services, Arid Sahara, Arid Sahara, Arid Sahara, Arid Sahara. That's your 5. This caretaker is going to be Arid Sahara. Ola's also really busy over there. Might need to get another caretaker. Might also need to get another keeper and another educator. All right, I'll go on a hiring spree. Keeper, educator. Budget might be a little scary next time. Arid Sahara animal care, Arid Sahara animal care. Animal care. And one more caretaker for entrance plaza. caretaker. Yeah, your entrance plaza. Go services to help with that workload. All right, that is going to be a big budget for next time, but hopefully some of our concessions kick in, start making a little extra money off of that. As of last year, we are making about $4,000 a month off of shop income, so these will pay for themselves eventually. And we also made $16,000 last year. So budget is really healthy. We're just we're spending it about as fast as it comes in while we do all of this detailing work on these. Is that litter? It is litter. While we work on these exhibits, and there is always more to be done. So I hope that you will join me next time for that. We are going to be doing fennec foxes next time. Well, actually, no, we might do sandcat next time. I'm not sure. We're either going to do sandcats next time or fennec foxes next time. Both of these exhibits, I think, are going to be open air with some netting and like a dome kind of structure. And then they're going to have an internal area as well where we can have some internal guest viewing. So I think those are going to be a lot of fun to build, and they're going to be quite different than a lot of the stuff that we've done for our hoofed desert animals that we have in the zoo so far. If you want to know when that video is going to go out, I would suggest that you subscribe to the channel and that you make sure your notifications are turned on so that you can see when these videos come out in the future. And I will catch you around in the next one. Till then, take care. Have a good one.